What's going on everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to some Fantasy Great League. Today I'm going to be showcasing a very strong team that performed super well for me in the Fantasy Great League. I think this team is just so easy. With this team I had 2 5-0s, and I also had a 1-4 with it, so overall super positive, 11 out of 15 with this team. Now on the face of it, this team is a little bit inaccessible, right? We have Tapu Fini, which of course you have to trade down for Great League. You have Giratina once again, which you have to get a trade for, and then you have like a level 50 Azu. So I recognise that this team is a little bit inaccessible. However, if you do have access to these Pokemon, I highly recommend running this team. The Giratina Azu core is super busted in this cup. If you don't have access to Tapu Fini, you can always swap it out for like a Skarmory, or that's the good thing about this cup, right? You can use pretty much whatever team you want. As long as you have a strong core and basically know what you're doing, you should be pretty much fine. You could even swap out Tapu Fini for Empoleon, but today I want to put the focus on Tapu Fini. We've got the buff Nature's Madness right here. The opponent actually lets the move go, does heavy damage. They come into a Sand Attack Flygon. I definitely think that Mudshot is the way to go. Really fast energy generation. Sand Attack is a pretty cool move, but I just don't think it's really worth it in this meta. Anyway guys, welcome back to the channel. If you do enjoy today's video, do me a quick favour, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't yet done so. I'm going to be showcasing as many teams as possible this week. This is a really good cup for climbing. If you're trying to hit Legend, Expert, Ace, whatever it is you're trying to hit, this is the week guys. Get into this cup, get a good team going, and I will try my best to assist you in that with showcasing as many good teams as possible. I myself have been just messing around for the last week playing Great League, not really taking it too seriously, right, using Venusaur and all these different sort of spicy teams. This week we're going to put an emphasis back on climbing, back on strong teams, and having a look at this matchup right here. If the opponent gives you an energy lead, you can flip this matchup going straight Surf, but also what you can do is just 2-shield farm it down after Nature's Madnessing the Reggie, which is quite an interesting way to play it. I probably prefer just getting shields down off the opponent. As you can see, the opponent is getting my second shield here. Now what I could probably do is just commit to the farm down. If I don't throw a move here, I think I just actually make the farm down. However, I don't want to leave the opponent up 2 shields. One of the things that is really good about this team is, if you're able to get shields down and a farm down with Giratina, you're basically able to sweep with it. It's super strong in this cup. As you can see here, the opponent was really low. Had I not thrown my charge attacks, I probably could have farmed it down. We come in with Giratina, the opponent aggro swaps, not wanting me to get an extra farm down with the Gira, and you'll find that quite a lot. People recognise that Giratina up energy just goes crazy. However, we do have an Azu here waiting just to absolutely cook the Flygon. I'm running this on Ice Beam, so I get walled by Reggie. One thing I've recognised this time around is that Reggie is less common and not as good in this cup as it was before, because Reggie just has a lot of answers in this meta. You have, of course, Giratina being pretty common. You have Flygon, which is a great answer to Registeel. In the Zeros, of course, Registeel can just one-shot it with Focus Blast if it's Shadow. But of course you also have a lot of things that are just quite good into Reggie in this cup. Even Stunfisk is currently allowed. Sandslash is pretty fine into it. Registeel, not quite as good as it was last time. I see most people using Hydro Pump on Azu, which is completely understandable. And Hydro Pump is only really for Reggie and let's say like Turtonator. I do think Ice Beam is very useful, just because Flygon is so common. They outpace you to the move so heavily, and Flygon up some energy, or even in the 2-shield, can just go absolutely crazy on Azu. Flygon's such a cool and fun Pokemon, and most likely what I'm going to showcase in tomorrow's video. This matchup right here is very awkward. We outpaced the Ominous Winds at 665, however because this is Shadow, they can basically steal away me the whole way down. I'm not sure if this is an attack-weighted Penguin. I've got very good IVs on my Gira, I get super fortunate with it. I think on the 3rd or 4th trade I get really good IVs. As you can see, they're just still winging me down, so I'm in a bit of an awkward position. If you get the boost here at some point, you basically flip this in the 2s versus the Shadow. But if the opponent is using Shadow Empoleon, you can just outpace it in the 2s. So yeah, Shadow Empoleon lead, definitely very tricky for the team. The opponent chips and dips into Azu. And I'm thinking here, okay, so the Empoleon's dry at this point basically. We're ahead in energy with Azu. We can outpace these moves, as you can hear my Pokemon Go in the background here. Let me know guys, do you play with sound on in Pokemon Go? I love playing with sound on. I turned off music maybe a few months ago. I used to be out playing with music on, bro, like walking past people like dun 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 dun. People looking at me like, what the fuck's wrong with this person, bro? But in any case guys, we're going to swap into Tapu Fini. We will have to take a player off. However, the Penguin's dry. I've seen a Steel type, I've seen a Fairy. There's a good chance it could be another Fairy or a Dragon. And by the looks of things, oh, it's actually Lucario, so something that is somewhat weak to Moonblast. With the Steel typing, this is neutral, however that's just heavy damage. Nature's Madness does less than a Moonblast, however it's got a guaranteed defense drop, and with that defense drop we can farm it the whole way down, and in the next match we have a very awkward lead into Dedenne. We're going to farm up to the move. Dedenne wins CMP here. I should go for the extra. We do go for the extra. It's straight 5 to discharge. It's 7 to the player off. More often than not, the opponent will not full send. If they full send, you can just outpace them with Ominous Wind, so they kind of have to be at this matchup to win it. As you can see here, I decide to respect the second move. I think once the opponent baits you once, baiting twice oftentimes gets called. That's one thing I've noticed. It's like a psychological thing that people have, right? If you get baited once, you do not want to get baited twice, right? So you just let the move go. You're like, whatever, I'll let the move go. They're not going to bait me twice. I'm not going to be embarrassed by this person twice in a row. It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It's like that, right? If you're able to successfully bait somebody once, I think the chance that you bait them twice in a row gets extremely low. The only situations in which that will work is if it's a very, very dire situation for the opponent. Now, in that case, it was in the lead, right? So the opponent recognized, like, I shielded the bait the first time. The opponent has probably experienced that they bait somebody once, but then they try to go for the second bait, and the opponent just lets the move go. That's typically what happens. Definitely, I talked about this in a previous video. There are a lot of psychological factors in this game. I do think that's one of them. People do not like being baited twice. I think the chances of successfully baiting on the second time round is exponentially lower. So that's just something worth keeping in mind. Don't get too greedy with your baits. Bait the first one, and only bait the second time if it's extremely necessary. If it's the only way that you can win, go for that bait, but it is very, very risky. Anyway guys, hopping into the next one, we have a very interesting matchup with Caesar. We do catch the Resisted Night Slash and Azu, and we're in a pretty good position here. Azu, like, unless this is a Registeel that's coming in, can basically put in work to anything. That is the one risky thing about swapping into Azu. If you are running this moveset, Azu is a much less functional safe swap in my opinion. Again, Ice Beam really good for the Flygon, but the opponent's not exactly going to bring a Flygon into your Azu. So I think probably having Hydro Pump on the swap is a little bit better. Speaking of which, the opponent Hydro Pumps my Azu. By the looks of things, the opponent's using some interesting tech here with Ice Beam and Hydro Pump, which definitely is a huge benefit to me. Because what I like to do in this situation here is take all of the moves. I come into my Tapu Fini, I store a move, come into Tapu Fini, we're going to Water Gun the whole way down, and the opponent says, nah bro, nah, it's not going to happen. You're not going to one-shot me. And as you guys can see, we do get a 5-0 in the first set, and unfortunately, the next set, not so positive. I ended up swapping my team after the next set, but we'll have a look at a few of these losses. Definitely a lot of very RPS battles in this one. Now that is the thing with this cup, it is free typings, right? I think this cup is quite interesting with the free typings because, if you think about it right, I'm using a dragon type, which is really good into steals and fairies in Giratina. Azu's just very neutral. There are a lot of Pokemon that typings don't really matter for too much, so that is what's quite interesting about this cup, I think. I do think this time around, the cup feels like it's got a broader meta. It feels like there is more variety. Of course, you're still seeing Azu everywhere, but like last time, guys, I think Azu was on about 80% of teams. It was something like that. According to Google Battle Log, it was on like 75-80% of teams, something like that. Whereas I feel this time around, it's not quite as Azu dominant, it's not quite as Reggie dominant. So that is definitely something good about this cup this season. I'm actually quite excited to play it for the whole week. We get the full Water Gun down, and we're going to get off a Surf on the Sandslash. So this is definitely very helpful. Sandslash, really, really difficult for this team at times. Right here, because the opponent got a Juicy Farm, I bring in my own Azu, just to absorb all the damage. We are down a shield, so if the opponent has something like a Flygon, oh, they come in with their own Giratina. Do I still have a chance to win this game? I'm going to go straight for Ice Beams here. I definitely need to get out of this matchup. I need to keep this alive. For the opponent's Sandslash, I get to the Ominous Wind. I've got really good IV, so of course I lose CMP. I decide to call the Ominous Wind. The opponent goes for a Shadow Ball. Very smart by the opponent. Knowing that they're ahead in energy, they decide not to go for the bait. Very smart by the opponent, and I'm just basically screwed here. The opponent goes for a bait now for some reason. I'm not too sure what the point is now, but I guess they only need 2 Ominous Winds to take me out, so it doesn't really matter what they throw at this stage. They still have a shield. The opponent's trying to play to their loose con like crazy here, coming into Sandslash. However, they do just outpace me, and that's game over. I do wonder if I had have stayed in with Azu on the Giratina, would that have been a little bit better? But in the next match, we have a terrible lead once again. We come into the Tapu Fini, which does neutral, and the opponent comes into a Penguin. So once again, what I'm thinking here is, okay, you can take me out, that's perfectly fine. If I can just get a nasty farm with Giratina, I might be able to be fine here. Again, this is just super awkward, super RPS at the minute, and we go for that move. We get a lot of damage for in the Empoleon. We can survive a move with Giratina, but this is not looking so hot right now. We come in with Giratina, start Shadow Clawing it the whole way down. We do have to take this move, unfortunately. We can't afford to shield against the Penguin, only for Flygon to Dragon Claw. The opponent stored up a little bit of energy. I think I will try to catch it on Azu. We did go for the catch. The opponent comes into Skarmory, and this is looking super tricky. As I mentioned, I did go 1-4 in this set, and you can see the reason why. I guess this is another reason for Hydro Pump, by the way. The opponent has absolutely no respect for Hydro Pump, which is kind of crazy. because to be fair, like if I land that Hydro Pump, I can just bubble it the whole way down. The opponent has absolutely no respect for it. I just called the Sky Attack the first time around as like a quote-unquote win con. There aren't a lot of win cons left in this match, unless I can get shields down, unless the opponent makes some sort of a misplay. The opponent's just putting it onto 2 shield Flygon. We do make it to the first Ice Beam here, which will get a shield off the opponent. However, this is just not looking so good. I do have energy in the Giratina. I'm thinking here, like, if I can make it to 2 Ice Beams, get the final shield off the opponent, and then try to Shadow Ball it, that might be just about my win con. I go for a Snipe here, which is quite an interesting play. I knew the opponent was very close to a move on this. They end up throwing off the energy here, and this is just a case of can I make it to the move of Azure or not. The opponent gets off a Dragon Claw. Bit of a mistake by the opponent actually, had they been counting, because that does not knock me out. I do make it to the Ice Beam, however, I don't get new mechanic or damage registration error, whatever you want to call it. And hopping into the next match, we have a neutral lead. Giratina versus Giratina. You just go straight for the Ominous Wind. I go for the extra because of course I've got great IVs, I'm going to lose CMP. Ominous Wind coming in, we're hoping and praying for no boost here. I throw the move immediately. And I think what I'm going to look to do here, at some point, is possibly catch a move on the Azu. We're going for the extra here. I think what I end up deciding to do, because I've got such good IVs, is to go for the extra and go for the farm down. So we do get alignment, the opponent's up a shield, I get off a Shadow Ball and whatever comes in, it just so happens to be an Azu. So I'm thinking right here, like, this has to be a very similar team to mine. We've got heavy damage on the Azu, putting us ahead here by more than a player off, and I'm hoping we should be basically fine at this rate. I'm thinking it could be something else weak to Electric. It could be their own Tapu Fini. Perhaps somebody seen this team and thought that it was a good team, or somebody thought of this team as well. Even though I'm down a shield, I'm feeling really good about this situation because the opponent's now in player off range. Once again, I can come in with Tapu Fini and start farming it down. Once I get the Azu into this kind of range, I come in for the Tapu Fini farm down. The opponent swaps out and they come into a Turtonator. This could be absolutely huge for me. The Turtonator is surprisingly thick. Look at them take the surf like it's nothing. Of course this is neutral. Nature's Madness is neutral as well. So arguably I should be full sending the big move. The opponent goes for a big overheat. That's going to debuff their attack. And I'm basically just trying to get rid of this thing as soon as possible. The opponent ends up putting up a shield here. And because their attack's lowered, we can look to go for a surf. A little bit tricky with Turtonator in this situation. And we do get rid of them here. In comes Azu. I still survive a move because I'm in the yellow health. And yeah, this is basically GG's. We can just Ice Beam, we can bubble it down, we can let our Azu go down, Water Gun it down. It doesn't really matter at this point. That's game over. So, you know, like I said, this is a really strong team, but we do go 1-4 in that set. Now, hopping back into this team later on in the day, we do get a Goodra lead, horrible lead here. The opponent's farming up, and the opponent makes a massive mistake here. They come into Escavalier. This is a huge mistake by the opponent. They should have chipped me with a Thunder Punch because they give me so much energy. I've got a massive chip on the Escav. Now, if you're an Ice Beam, you can just go for double Ice Beam in this matchup, or if you bubble them into like 50% health, you probably just do a player off, right? But the opponent's made a massive mistake here. They go for Drill Run as well. I definitely tank the first move. The opponent's down his shield, and we're just absolutely chilling here. I'm thinking here I still survive this move. So if you want to give me 2 shield Giratina, be my guest. 2 shield Giratina versus the world, I'll take it. As long as they don't have a Wigglytuff, we're basically fine. And if they do have a Wigglytuff, well, I guess it's 2 shield Tapu Fini time. I will expend my first shield here. Unfortunately, the opponent goes for the Acid Spray, which is super annoying, lowering my defense, meaning that I have to insta-swap out. Goodra has a move stored, so this is still a little bit awkward. Now, the opponent makes a bit of a mistake in my opinion. If you think about the charge attacks Goodra's got, they've got Surf and Thunder Punch. They're not going to do any damage to Giratina, however, a super effective Thunder Punch is no joke on Tapu Fini. So had they just chipped me down here, you can see how much damage the Steel Wings have already done to me, right? I would not be able to no-shield that move, and I'd be in a very awkward position. I get off a Surf here, take out the Skarmory. I just recognise that I don't want to give the Goodra a bunch of farm. I will definitely make it to a Shadow Ball. We've chipped them down into roughly Shadow Ball range, so I decide just sweeping with Giratina is the best way to go here. That doesn't quite one-shot, but it might as well. I think the opponent's mistake was not using their energy. Now, hopping into the next battle, we've got what I would consider to be a good lead. Skarmory, especially in the Shadow form, just gets absolutely one-shot by Shadow Ball. Of course, this one-shot, it's a Shadow, we're going to beat it, and the opponent calls it. The opponent is an absolute psychopath. Not only that, but they full send the Brave Bird. Ladies and gents, lock this person up, lock them up. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a serial killer on the loose. They're full sending Brave Birds, they're no shielding Shadow Balls. We need to find this person and lock them up. They come into Tina, we come into the Azu, of course, not before getting the shield. And yeah, that puts us in a pretty good position. I shield the first move because I know they will Shadow Ball. And also, Azu is pretty decent into the Skarmory. This Ice Beam from here, I think they do survive it, and gives us a slight bubble down. However, I just recognise in this matchup, by the time I get a few more bubbles through, I can just go straight for the Ice Beam. Thankfully, I'm free off the move, The opponent's just getting to the Shadow Ball here. We need this Ice Beam to take them out, which it does. They come back into Skarmory, and if they get this farm down, this is really bad. Okay, thankfully, the opponent does throw the energy. So, what's going to happen is we're going to come into Giratina. Actually, we come into the Tapu Fini, and the opponent comes into Flygon. GG's, thanks for playing. We can just go for a Surf here. You're going to see that Scorching Sands does a lot of damage here. It does a lot of damage to Tapu Fini. However, this Nature's Madness will look to absolutely one-shot the Flygon. We can wee down the Skarmory, and that's going to be game over. Or, of course, Shadow Claws will be doing a little bit more damage, so we come in and do the Shadow Claw damage. GG's for that game, and hopping into the next one, we have a fantastic lead. We absolutely need to keep this in the lead. We cannot lose swap here. So what I'm going to look to do here is go straight for a Shadow Ball. I'm not going to mess around. Azus don't typically shield the first move. The way I play this game is very unconventional at times. I like shielding moves that I think is crazy for the opponent to bait, right? So like you think, what's the point? Ominous Winding and Azu? There's just absolutely no point. Like that's a crazy bait. So I'll think like it's just a safe shield. I don't need to shield the move. I easily live it. I'm at full health even, but I'm going to shield this one move. You know, the way I think about it sometimes is you have 2 shields per match. You can either shield some absolute bullshit when you're on 2 HP trying to get off a last second move, or you can shield a full ass Shadow Ball. I like using my shields in situations where it's extremely unlikely that the opponent's baiting. I absolutely hate shielding baits. It drives me crazy. Like, you guys probably hear me on stream, like, I cuss people out, bro. I cuss people out for baiting me. I absolutely hate it. So that's why I shield these moves sometimes. The opponent here gets a juicy little farm down with the Pharaoh. They will make it to a Power Whip here. I'm thinking, like, if it's Flash Cannon, I have to let it go. And I'm also thinking, because it's Fair 4 in lead, my Tapu Fini should be good in the back. I'm thinking, like, they've got the Azu out of the way. They're trying to sweep with something in the back, and so it is. They come into a Flygon. We can definitely take a move here, none Shadow. But again, I just think, like, you're not going to go for a double resisted Dragon Claw here with 2 shields up. That's crazy. I'm at full health. Going for a double resisted Dragon Claw is crazy, right? Some people will do it because it's like their only win con at this point. I go for the Nature's Madness. I can definitely no-shield this move at this point. And that's just absolute game over. The opponent does go for a bait finally, and yeah, that's good games. The cool thing with Tapu is if you've got 2 shields up, and if the opponent does not resist water, you can go for 1 Nature's Madness and basically farm down a lot of things. Horrible lead in the next game, we come straight into the Tapu here. If you get Flygon lead, I do recommend coming straight into Tapu. The opponent's going to go for Scorching Sands. Regardless of what I said before, I'm going to let this go because I do want to get an energy lead with the Giratina. The opponent ends up coming into a Reggie, they farm up some extra energy, come into Registeel, and I'm going to get these moves off ASAP. I'm even thinking, should I shield once and like get 1 shield down off the opponent? Because Flygon, with its spammy moveset, is really good in the 2s, but whenever it gets into the 1s or the 0s, the matchups become a little bit less positive for it. We come into Giratina, I'm going to commit to an absolutely massive farm down here. We will take a Zap Cannon in the process, however, the opponent will have to take a Shadow Ball. If memory serves me correctly, I think they're 2 off a move, so I can go for a Shadow Ball and then let them do 1 and catch. The opponent on the face of it makes what you think would be a smart play, but had the opponent recognised that I'm using double water, they definitely wouldn't have done this. They come into Azu, tank the move, I come into my own Azu, and we can just basically shield the first move once again. The opponent's not going to be a psychopath. This is going to do more damage than a player off, so I just shield this move. Now I recognise here the opponent will probably make it to another move, so I just have to no-shield 1 of these. And what I actually decide here is that the opponent probably knows that Scorching Sands does more damage, so they probably will shield here. So I'll get a shield back off the opponent, and I'm going to let this move go, because all I need to do is get them into Shadow Ball range. Scorching Sands has a 1 in 3 chance of debuffing. The opponent did not debuff me on one of the first 2 tries, so I just realised it's probably going to debuff me this time around. The opponent sees the writing on the wall here and just lets the game go here. Mawile, bang, fantastic lead here. All of the moves are resisted on all of our Pokemon. The opponent comes into a G-Weezy, which is quite interesting. They go straight for a Brutal Swing. Not really great, I'm not so happy about this, but I do want to get a shield off the opponent. And I think I'm going to come into Tapu Fini, just because I want to apply a lot more fast move pressure. Weezing, it's pretty glassy, it's not like a super glassy Pokemon, not bulky either. I expect the opponent to full send here, because Brutal Swing being resisted really just does absolutely nothing. So I didn't really see the point in that bait there. Like there's no reason I should be shielding that. I guess the opponent wanted to get off a Brutal Swing first, before debuffing themselves. I realise the opponent will probably make it to another Overheat. I'm going to go for a Surf here, get the shield off the opponent. The opponent actually catches it on Mawile, and I'm pretty happy with this. We resist the moves. I'm going to go for another Surf here, and this will basically look to take out the Mawile. The Mawile actually does let it go, of course, and they come back into Weezing. They go for a move here. I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to basically Shadow Claw the whole way down, or Bubble it the whole way down. We come into Azu just in case they do make it to another move. Of course, not wanting to eat another Brutal Swing. The opponent comes into a Florges, of all things. A very interesting Pokemon. This Pokemon only knows Fairy moves. It has Disarming Voice and I believe Moonblast. I decided to completely sacrifice the Giratina here. I was going to make it to a move, go for Disarming Voice, and we're just going to basically make it to 2 Ice Beams and that should be enough to win the match. Once again, this is a bulky Azu. You should not be beating this. It probably is the opponent's win con to beat it, but this is just my playstyle. Sometimes I feel like people know me and know that I'm going to shield any old thing, so people probably beat me for that reason and that reason alone. But once again, I just think like if you're using a bulky Pokemon or you're at full health, it's kind of crazy for the opponents to go for baits. But anyway guys, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. We had a 5-0, a 1-4, and we finish off with a 5-0 here. Fantastic team. I know it is a little bit inaccessible. Some of the Pokemon are hard to get, but if you do have access to these Pokemon, I highly recommend it. If you have any locals or any people online that you can do trades with, I highly recommend trying to get yourself a Giratina for Great League. Even if the CP is quite low, it's well worth it, and I highly recommend getting it. Tapu Fini with Nature's Madness, a very cool pick, and I really enjoyed it. If you don't happen to have Tapu, again, replace it with something like Penguin or Skarmory. If you don't have Giratina, you possibly could replace it with Flygon, but I think at this point we're just talking about a completely different team, and I actually will be showcasing a team very similar to what I just said in the next day or two. Thanks everybody, hope you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, have a fantastic rest of your day.